drinks, food, coffee. I'm ready for anything. Wait a minute, my VMs! End of the world? Bring it on. But without Azure Site Recovery, your VMs won't stand a chance. Let's set up Azure Site Recovery and keep your business running no matter what happens. In this video, I'll show you how to set up Azure Site Recovery to replicate and protect an on-premises Windows server to Azure. I've got a small demo on-premises environment with 2 Windows servers. One of them will be used to run the replication appliance, and the other will be the virtual machine or physical server. It can be either, but the Windows server that we're going to protect. As well as that, we're going to have a recovery services vault that we'll set up, and I'll run through the various configuration options we've got for that. And then hopefully by the end of it, we've got a server from on-premises replicating up to Azure and ready for failover. As you can see here, we've got the on-premises environment within this box. It could be anything from Windows servers, Linux appliances, Linux servers, virtual machines, so VMware or Hyper-V. So that represents your protected items or the items that you want to replicate up to Azure. Here you've got the Azure Site Recovery Replication Appliance. So this is a box that sort of handles the management and data transfer, in some cases, up to your recovery services vault in Azure. So this is the sort of brains behind the on-premises side of the operation. And then up in here, we've got the Microsoft Azure. And then really within there, you've got a recovery services vault, which is the landing point for your replication traffic and the thing that orchestrates all of the protection of the machines and the connectivity of it to your virtual networks in Azure and your storage accounts and all that good stuff. First things first, let's open up the Azure portal. I've got a resource group prepped here. We've got some virtual networks as well. So this one here essentially represents our production virtual network. So if you were to fail the virtual machine over into Azure, this is what it would come up on. So this would ideally have your other live resources, such as maybe a domain controller if you're running a Windows environment, or your other resources that are necessary for your systems to operate. There's also an assumption here that you'd have some sort of hub connectivity that will allow connection to the internet, whether that's vWAN or something along those lines. And then we've got the test virtual network, which will also be configuring within the replication job. So the test virtual network is really there so that if you choose to perform a test failover rather than a live one, there's an isolated test VNet that you can bring your virtual machine up into. And what we have configured here is a network security group, which blocks all outgoing connectivity. So you can bring things up, you can test them without worrying about it leaking data or connecting to any live systems. To create the recovery services vault, we'll go to that blade in the Azure portal. You can see here we haven't got any created yet. So we'll click create and get one set up. So resource group, we'll just choose the demo resource group that I've already got it created here. We'll give it a name and a region. So in this case, we've got UK South because that's the region that we want to restore the virtual machines into. Next. So redundancy. So this is actually more relevant for backup. So the recovery services vault, as well as handling replication jobs, also manage backup for Azure virtual machines and also in some instances on-premises virtual machines. You can choose a few options here. So geo-redundant, zone redundant, locally redundant, and that really just determines how well protected the data is. But as I say, this is for backup data, so it's not really relevant for the setup that we'll be doing today. And I think realistically, when you're setting your recovery services vaults up, you might choose to create one for replication and one for backup. So as this is for replication, we don't need to worry about these options. Again, encryption, so this is relevant to backup, so we'll skip past this page. Immutability, so again, this is a backup setting, so we won't worry about this one. Networking, so do you want your recovery services vault to be available on the public internet? Or do you want to deny that access and just have it available via private endpoints? That is very much a decision that you'll have to make dependent on the sort of security and operational policies of your business. So you may find that you don't want to expose any traffic at all over the public internet and you want it all to go over private endpoints via something like an express route or a VPN. in which case you deny public access and then you'd set your recovery services vault up with a private endpoint. For the purposes of this test, to make it nice and quick and easy, we'll allow public access, which just means that the recovery services vault is available over the internet and our on-premises setup is able to connect to it directly without having to jump through any extra hoops. Next one, tags. So yeah, always tag your resources with the relevant tags for your environment or your organization. For the purposes of the test, I won't add any here just to speed things up. And then we'll review and create. And Azure will go off and do its thing. Okay, great. So that's now complete. Let's go to the resource. So we're in our recovery services vault now. You can see there's quite a few different options here. I'm going to go down and manage site recovery infrastructure. For this, we're going to set the appliance up as if we were going to replicate VMware virtual machines, but we can also replicate them as if they were physical machines too, or indeed we could replicate physical machines if that's what they were. If we go to the appliances here, we can see that there aren't any yet. I'll click add to add a new replication appliance, and here we've got a few options that it presents us with. So you can download an OVA template, and if you've got VMware, you can import that and create a virtual machine from that template, which essentially just spins up a Windows Server virtual machine with the appliance software already installed. Alternatively, if you prefer, and I think many organizations probably would, you can build your own Windows Server to your exact specifications. You may find that you've got a pre-existing template which is hardened or a certain configuration or security settings in it built for your organization. So you've got your Windows Server set up, and then you can just download some files which will allow you to install the appliance on it separately. So for this, we're going to go ahead and do that. It doesn't give you a direct link for the download here, which is helpful, but it's fine. We'll just click on the link, go to the documentation, and then hopefully we should see, there we go. So download and install is from here. So I'll copy that link and I'm going to jump across to my demo server, which we'll use as the replication appliance. We'll get that downloaded and installed. Okay, so we've got our server here that we'll be using for the replication appliance. We'll just open up a browser, paste in the link that we've been given. Okay, so that's downloaded. We'll just extract it. Whilst that's extracting, there are some prerequisites for the server that you would use for the replication appliance. We'll provide a link in the description of the video, but basically you just need to make sure you meet certain CPU and memory requirements, because potentially the machine is going to be processing a lot of traffic, especially if you've got a lot of servers that you want to protect. And then also there's a disk space requirement because it will cache a certain amount of data before it uploads it to Azure. Okay, that's done. So we can see in the contents here, a lot of files. If we go back to our document, it does say that it's done through PowerShell. So once we're done, we go into the path and run this as an administrator. Let's do that. I'll just grab the path, open up PowerShell. Find our script. There it is, and run it. Okay, so it's going to install a bunch of roles, features, and other prerequisite softwares. So as you can see, it's just in the process of installing some Windows Server roles as well as other prerequisite software. So we'll let that run through and come back when it's complete. Right, so that's complete. We can see now we've got this appliance configuration manager. I think for best practice for using any software that's just been installed, I'm going to give this server a reboot. I'll be with you when it's back. Okay, let's log back in. And we'll open up a shortcut. Okay, so jump straight into the wizard here. It's pretty straightforward and simple menu that it takes you through. So it's run all the prerequisite checks. It's happy with all of that, so that's good. And we will continue. Making sure all of the components that we just installed are up to date and it's happy with them all. Yeah, that's fine. Continue. Okay, and now we're just choosing whether we want to use FQDN or IP for the appliance connectivity. We'll leave it at default. Save that. Okay, now we need to register it with the recovery services vault that we created before. So if we go back into the Azure portal, back on this screen, if you remember that, we've got the registration key here. So we'll copy that. Enter a friendly name for this appliance, demo 1. Paste that key in. Okay, and now we need to log in so it can connect to Azure and verify all of that. So we'll just perform a device code login. Do MFA. And now that's going to register with the recovery services vault. Okay, so that's now done, and we'll continue on. So at this point, it's asking to enter vCenter details. So I think, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to replicate these servers as if they were physical machines. So we won't be entering any vCenter details, but what you can do, of course, is to enter your hypervisor details in, and the replication appliance will connect to the underlying virtual machines through the hypervisor and perform all of the data extraction and transfer via the hypervisor. So it's a really convenient and easy way to interface with all of your virtual machines through one place. That said, using the physical server option isn't just exclusively for physical servers. So, you may be in a situation where you have a VMware estate, but you're not actually in control of the management plane for that. So if you are maybe in a private cloud with a third-party provider and you don't have access to VMware, you can install the mobility agent on the Windows Server virtual machines and treat them as if they were physical servers and essentially replicate them without having to have any sort of access to the virtualization layer. So that's quite a handy option in those sorts of scenarios. So I'll just tick that to skip past the vCenter step. And now we're going to give it some details for our other Windows Server. Got the option to add credentials here. So this is quite handy. You can save a set of credentials. So for example, if you're on Active Directory domain, you can enter a set of domain credentials that has the relevant access to the underlying servers that you want to protect. And then when you come to add the servers later on, you can just choose this save credential and it saves you a bit of time there. So we'll just fill out the details here. Add them in, and then we'll come to add our server. So we're just doing one for now. We can give it an IP address or FQDN, so I'll just grab that. And as you say, select the credential accounts that we've stored, and then add that. Okay, so we'll just do the one for now, and then continue. So now we've given it all of our details, we'll let it finish the setup. It'll complete the registration with Azure, and we'll be back with you once that's all done. It has given us an error. It does sometimes do this. If we just do try again, normally just comes straight back and says it's happy. Okay, so that's run through and completed successfully. So let's go back to here, and if we look in infrastructure now, application appliances, we can see the appliances showing up in the portal. So now it's time to replicate some servers. So if we go back a step, look at replicated items. So none here at the moment. I'm going to replicate VMware and physical machines to Azure. Physical machines. And we'll see now that we can select from our available physical machines that have been discovered by on-premises appliances. And we've got the machine that we added there. So we'll select that and choose next. Okay, so if you were doing quite a lot of servers in bulk, this would allow you to select maybe a different appliance. If you had multiple appliances on premises, to maybe split the load or replication traffic, you could choose a different appliance and then different credentials as well if you want. And then if you wanted to maybe exclude disks from replicating because they contain like backup data or some sort of cache that you're not interested in preserving in a DNR scenario, you could select that if there were multiple disks. But for now, we'll just click next. And then this is where we sort of set up the target properties. So for this, we want it to just go into our demo resource group, but you may choose, if you had a production virtual machine resource group, you might choose to put them in there. And then we select the failover network. So you can configure it later and not choose one, but it makes sense to do this now so that if you do end up in a business continuity scenario, you know that everything's prepped and ready to go. So we'll choose the virtual network that we want the virtual machine to be connected to when it's restored. So we've got two here, as I think I mentioned before. One's demo, which effectively represents production, and then we've got the test one as well. So we'll choose demo, and then the target subnet. So it picks up the only subnet we've got in that VNet, which is demo. And then here you can see the option. We've got test failover network settings. So we can choose the same as the failover network settings. So we can choose to failover into the production network for a test failover, or we can choose a different virtual network. So I think it makes sense to choose a different one. So we'll choose our test VNet, and this test VNet on the subnet has a network security group which blocks all outbound traffic. So if you do bring it up, it'll be brought up in an isolated, segregated network environment. So it won't be able to touch any of your live machines or the outside world. And so you won't have any sort of data slipping out where you maybe don't want it to. Cache storage account. You can pre-create this, and there are options around high churn machines and creating a premium storage account to handle the additional load that creates. However, for this demo, we're just going to allow it to create the cache storage account for us. I think in a production environment, you'd probably pre-create this yourself. You can make sure it's got the right naming standards, right tags and all that sort of stuff. And then replication settings. So there is a default one that gets created with the Recovery Services Vault, so 24-hour replication policy. You can choose to create one yourself if you want to. So if you wanted to maybe have slightly different retention settings, you could create your own policy, and I would encourage you to do that. You can choose a retention period in days. So, it may be that you don't always necessarily want to just restore from the very latest restore point. You might want to go back a certain number of days. So maybe if you had some sort of ransomware event, you may have been replicating your virtual machine encrypted state for a few hours or potentially even maybe days. So this gives you the ability to fail over from a time point a few days prior. And then we've also got app consistent snapshots. So, if you're familiar with backup or replication in general, you'll know that there are kind of two terms, crash consistent and app consistent. Crash consistent effectively just takes a snapshot of the machine and in its current state. It doesn't kind of commit anything in memory to a snapshot. And when you bring the server up, it will kind of think it's just crashed and it will be in that state. You can enable app consistent snapshots, which will leverage typically VSS in a Windows server, and that will quiesce anything that's going on the virtual machine or the physical server. It will commit anything in memory or in transaction onto the backup or the replication snapshot itself. So you will find that enabling that can sometimes create a little bit of extra load on the machine that you're protecting, but it's generally encouraged for things like SQL servers where you want to capture that data that's not fully committed to the database, so it's in transaction logs or memory or anything that sort of caches data on a fairly regular basis. So that's how you can create your replication policies. We'll just use the default one that's given us for now. And then we choose next and we're ready to enable replication. So we click on this and we'll see once it's done that our machine will appear in here. Okay, so we can see it's showing up in the portal now. It's enabling protection. So if we click on this, it should tell us exactly what it's doing. It's done the prerequisite checks and it's now installing the mobility service and enabling replication. So remember, we added this server as a physical server, so it has to install a mobility agent on that. So it does that via the replication appliance. So it does a push install. If you have certain restrictions on your servers, you can manually install a mobility agent yourself. It's available on the replication appliance in one of the file shares, but this will push the install from the replication appliance to your target machine. And then once that's installed, it enables the replication and then starts the initial replication. So depending on the size of your server, that could take a little bit of time to initially get set up. But once it is, it will show up in the portal. It will tell you everything's good, and then it will just keep in sync. And obviously, if there are any errors, they'll be brought to your attention. Right, so that's all now showing as successful. So if we go back step and just refresh that, showing 0% synchronized, so that will just run through and upload data from the on-prem appliance up into the Recovery Services Vault, and eventually we'll have a server in sync and fully replicated to Azure. But for now, I've been Chris. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.